Okay, gang, sorry, let me move your book out of the way here. So, there'll be 2 videos for this section. This is the second one. Again, this is just a short section. I just want to get you up to speed so that when we do chapter 10, that you can simplify the problems in the quadratic formula, the factoring, and so on. I'm just going to briefly show you one more quick rule before we do this. I need you to know this by heart. Okay, so we already just talked about in the previous video that I is equal to radical negative 1. The next rule I'm going to say is going to look really weird, but I need you to know it. If I multiply radical negative 1 times radical negative 1, you sort of want to think of the same concept as if I have 2 2's under, like 1 comes out, right? Because that would be the square root of 4. And the square root of 4 equals to 2. I'm going to come back to this in a second. This is a concept. Or just like if I have radical x times radical x, it means 1 comes out. Or if you want me to write it this way, 1 comes out, right? So 2 under, 1 out. 2 under, 1 out. So when I have 2 i's, so when I have I squared, that means that you have radical negative 1 times radical negative 1, and we just talked about what that was. 2 i's or 2 of these, right? You have 2 of these. So 2 under, 1 out. So what I need you to memorize is, if this is the order you can do it in, if it helps. If you have a radical negative 1, I want you to write it as I. If you have an I squared, I want you to write it as negative 1. I'm looking for this form, the answer to be in this form. So don't leave a negative under the radical, write it as an I. Don't leave anything as an I squared, write it as a negative 1. So again, the concept, I tried to explain it here, 2 under, 1 out. Alright, so we're going to finish this up again. This is sort of a quickie section. So we're going to distribute the 6i to both terms here. So 6i times 5 is 30i. 6i times 6i is 36i squared. I squared, we just discussed it. I squared equals to negative 1. So it's 30i plus 36 times negative 1. Negative 1 times 36 is negative 36. So whenever you see an I squared, what it's going to do is it's going to make it opposite sign. It's going to reverse the sign. Now this answer's full credit, but I just don't like the order. My brain likes the real part first and the complex in the back. That's usually how you write it. Alright, so that's the final answer then. Let me try another one a little bit more difficult. This is a complex number. Instead of it just like we just had like half of a complex number here, now we have like a whole complex times a complex. So this you're going to have to FOIL. You're going to have to FOIL this. So I'm going to multiply the negative 4 times the 3 minus I. So negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Negative 4 times negative I is plus 4i. Negative 9i times 3 is negative 27i. Negative 9i times I is positive 9i squared. So remember that the I is equal to negative 1. So this piece over here will eventually come out to be a negative 9, right? It'll switch its sign. And then let me just pull everything down. Negative 12 plus 4i minus 27i. Okay, so we FOILed, we simplified the I squared to a negative 1, which multiplied, so the positive 9 times the negative 1 made a negative 9 overall. So we're almost done with this. We're just going to combine like terms. So you're going to combine the real parts. So this is going to be negative 21. And you're going to combine the imaginary part. So this is going to be negative 23i. So just combine the real and combine the imaginary, and that's what you're going to get. Alright, one more thing before I finish up this section is I want to cover division. Now we talked about last week that when you have 2 terms in the denominator, it's a more sophisticated technique. Do you remember what we multiply by if you have 2 terms in the denominator and one of them is a radical? right? I know it says I, but I is a fancy nickname for a radical. So 2 terms in the bottom with a radical, you have to multiply by the conjugate. So the conjugate means that just the middle term is opposite. So did you catch that? I didn't switch the 4. The only thing that makes a conjugate is when the middle guy here is negative. Everybody else has to stay the same. So be careful of that, because some people think you change everybody's sign, which is wrong. All right, so this again is called the conjugate. I'm going to FOIL out the denominator. So let me start there, and then I'll see what we got. Okay, so this will be 16. This will be positive 40i. This will be negative 40i. This will be negative 100 I squared. Right, the middle terms will always go away. I'm just going to keep hanging out with the bottom for a minute. The I squared's a negative 1. So this multiplied times this is going to make a positive 100. So we're going to get 116. Okay. So now let's worry about that numerator. Now just like with the other section we did, sometimes the numerator can reduce with the denominator, and that's what my brain just did. I don't know if anybody caught it. I was like, okay, well, can we divide by 9 or 3 into here? And I was trying to check that out, and it didn't work. So, but you want to sort of have that moment. You want to give your brain that moment to figure out, okay, does this, right? Let me write it out for you just in case you don't know what I'm saying. I was taking a moment to see if I could reduce something here, and I can't. So now since I can't, I'm going to now simplify the numerator. So this is going to be negative 36i, negative 36i minus 90i squared. We got to simplify that. So remember, this is being multiplied by a negative 1, so it's going to become plus 90. Now, I'm going to give you full credit for this, but this does look weird. Usually when you hand in a complex number, the real part goes in front, and it's sort of like you split the fraction. And we also have to simplify this. Oh, it would have actually been better if I simplified it up here. So let me come back and divide everybody by 2. So you could simplify it now, but let me show you the correct way to do it. You would factor out a 2, before I scratch up this whole paper here. You would factor out a 2, right? So you'd say 2 negative 18i plus 45 over 116. Because all your fractions have to be in lowest form. They have to be in lowest form. So then I could reduce this with this. So that's a 58. Okay? So right now I have, and I'm also going to just move the order around here. I have this. Right now I would give you full credit for this because this fraction now is completely reduced. But technically when you hand in a complex number, the real and imaginary part are separate. So that would mean that I would write this like that. So this is a better answer, but if you notice, now that we've split it apart, you may have more simplification on one or the other parts. So my brain is just trying to see, like, is there something here that, like I can see here goes, if I divide by 2, that's 529. Right, so when you do change it into this other form, since there's 2 separate fractions, you may find one or both goes farther. So again, I will take this. This is full credit. This is the best answer down here for complex numbers just because they're written separately. Okay, gang, I hope that was helpful. That's it for today. It's just a short lecture for today, but we will be doing a lecture every day this week because there's 5 sections. So get in front of it and don't let the homework you know, get in front of the homework so it's a comfortable ride for you. Don't forget there's online tutoring, so please use that. Sometimes I get so behind with the videos that it's hard for me to get back to people in a sufficient amount of time, and I don't want you to fall behind. So please make sure you're using that online resource as well as me. Okay, thank you, gang. Please do the homework and hand it in. I'll catch you tomorrow in the next video. Bye-bye.